What's up guys, welcome back to another tutorial. Today I'm going to give you guys 4 tips to help speed up the process of learning how to foil. Let's go.
1, 3, 5, go!
Coming from the wild, wild West Indies.
Okay guys, so tip number 1 is having the right setup for actually learning how to foil. Most people either borrow their friend's setup or just find a setup and try foiling for the first time, and usually that never works out the best because you're on too much of an advanced setup to actually figure things out. So the best setup for learning how to foil is basically a nice big board, something with a bit of buoyancy, and a short mast and a big fat front wing. The best setup from Levita's Kite foils, which is the foils that I ride, is the match board paired up with the 80 or the 60 centimeter mast and the cruiser front wing. If you have that setup, the process of dealing with the foil, riding the foil, and just figuring things out is going to be a lot easier than if you're on a smaller board and a longer mast with a tiny little front wing. So yeah, that's tip number 1, is having the right setup for actually learning how to foil. Okay, so one other thing you got to think about when you figure out your beginner kite foiling setup is your strap positions. Most foil boards have the option to set up 1, 2, 3 straps. I recommend setting up your foil board with a 2-strap configuration, basically 1 strap on each side. And this is really nice because you have your front foot control, but you have the freedom to kind of move your back foot around, which is very important in the beginning stages because you're kind of shifting your weight around. And it's nice to be able to just step around and figure out where's the best place to actually stand. So for a beginner, the best strap setup that I would recommend is 2 straps each side, and you should be good to go. So yeah, that's another thing you want to think about. Now we're going to jump into the next stage of tips, which is kind of figuring out how to deal with the kite foil in the water, carrying it, all that fun stuff. Okay, so tip number 2 is dealing with the foil. Carrying the foil and dealing with the foil in the water is very different to a twin tip because you got this big huge wing off the bottom of your board. So there are a few different ways to carry it, which I'm going to show you right now. First one, which is pretty much standard to carrying a twin tip, surfboard, anything like that, is just basically under the arm, right like this. Boom, boom, boom. And I find that having the foil basically in the front, so board backwards, makes it a lot easier to carry because sometimes the foil can add a lot of weight to the board, and this way you're holding most of the weight close to you, whereas the other way there's a lot of leverage on it. So this is standard, easy way to carry it from point A to point B. And then second way to carry it is basically on top of your shoulder. So basically lifting it up like this. So again, foil backwards and basically just holding underneath the wing, board underneath you. And this is pretty easy way to carry it from point A to point B. And this way doesn't matter that much. You can carry it backwards or forwards. Actually doing it right now, forward feels a little bit better. So yeah, just right underneath like this. And basically that's the 2 ways you carry the foil from point A to point B. Now let's jump into the water and talk about dealing with this whole setup in the water and what you should think about. Okay, so once you start heading into the water with the foil, there's a few things you need to know about. I like to carry my foil upside down because it keeps the foil protected and avoids it hitting the sand, hitting the rocks, hitting the bottom. You don't want to do that with your nice foil. And then once you get out into the water, on the short mast like the 80 or the 60 cm, you can get away starting a little bit shallower than with a full length foil, but I still recommend walking out as far as you can get and then actually body dragging out. And the best way to body drag with the foil is to have half the foil in, half the foil out of the water. As you can see here, I'm using my right front hand to grab the rail of the board, which makes it really easy to hold it in that half in, half out position. And once you got it locked in, you can just body drag like a normal drag, which is a very efficient way to get out, get deep, and also get away from danger if you ever need to. And now we're going to touch on actually getting the board on your feet and getting up and going. The first way to do this is keeping the foil flat, but for me I find this way pretty awkward because it's really hard to get your feet into a board that's flat on the water. But if this feels comfortable, give it a go and try and get up. But the way I would recommend doing it is actually very similar to the body dragging technique, is get the board half in, half out, because when it's half in, half out, it's really easy to maneuver the board and get it in a comfortable starting position. So as you can see here, got it up on its rail, getting it onto my feet, and then once it's on your feet, you can kind of keep it in this position and get everything ready to give the kite a dive and try and get up and get going. So as you can see here, I'm using my left backhand, popping in my front right foot, and then good dive, and we're up, shredding the foil. Alrighty, so once you figured out all that other stuff, the next big one to figure out is just actually being on the board and riding. The biggest thing that happens when you hop on the foil for the first time is it wants to turn into a wild bronco and kick you off. And basically that's usually because you're standing way too far back on the foil. So when you first on the foil, stand pretty forward, keep a lot of your weight forward, and that will help you kind of just ride the board on the water, kind of like I'm doing right now. And then as you adjust your weight a little bit, kind of lean back some, a little bit more pressure on your back foot, foil pops off, just like so, and you are foiling. But it takes a long time to kind of figure out that magic sweet spot. So the first goal is just to get up on the board and just ride with the board on the water, and just kind of ride it like a normal board. And then you can start playing around with the weight distribution. The key thing to remember, forward so it doesn't pop up, and then slowly back until you start feeling some of that magic foiling. And then once you've kind of figured out, you know, being on the foil and riding a little bit, the next thing you're gonna have to watch out for is speed, managing your speed. And the biggest mistake most people make when they first try foiling is they ride with their kite way too low. And that usually means you're getting a lot of speed as the kite goes down low, but also a lot of speed as you try and bring the kite up to slow down. Way too low, way too low. Whoa boy, you're going way too fast here, way too fast. Oh man! So that's another huge tip, is just make sure you keep the kite fairly high, like around 1, 2, 3 o'clock. Kite up high, nice and smooth. As that's the perfect spot to kind of have enough pull to go, but not too low to create too much speed on the way down and the way back up. Okay guys, and tip number 4, which is the last tip for today, is try foiling for the first time in normal wind on a normal size kite. Most times people try foiling when the wind's way too light, so it's just hard to even keep the kite flying, and it makes it even harder to just get up on the foil and ride, because in the beginning you just want to ride on the board and not tap into the magic of the foil yet. So yeah, that's tip number 4, is just try it when the kite has a little bit of power in it. That'll help you stand up, help you kind of ride the board without just relying on the magic and the efficiency of being up on the foil. Alright guys, big thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you guys found some value in today's little foiling tutorial. Big thanks to Megan for helping shoot. Yep. With that said, leave a comment down below of what you want to learn next. I want to do a lot more tutorials in the near future. And if you're new here or you've been watching for a long time and you really enjoy what we're doing, if you enjoyed this video, check out the description and check out my Patreon page. Basically, Patreon allows you guys to directly help me and Megan continue making videos like this one, and we would really appreciate the support. So yeah, that's pretty much it guys. Hopefully this helps you kind of get up on the foil and have a good time on the magic carpet, and we'll see you guys soon in another video. Peace, love, and
Big ups.
big ups.